This is it, walking fans. Morning everyone, first day of October, feels autumnal, leaves on the lane that we're walking down. My compadre beside me.
Good morning, International Old People's Day today.
Yes, Andy's noticed that, I'm trying to ignore it. So, International Old People's Day, and we as old peoples, and we're walking leg 54 of the Southwest Coast Path. At the end of this walk, would have completed it. Andy and me will be completers. And that's all there is, I have to say, at this stage of the proceedings, because yesterday slaughtered us.
We'll have to talk to the We'll have to talk to the association, the Southwest Coast Path Association, which we are members, to inform them that we have joined the long list of completers. Hopefully we'll get a little badge in recognition of the feat.
A badge of honour.
I'm sure it costs us money, but it won't be free.
I think we'll you just say it. That's all you need to do. We've completed. We haven't actually completed it yet, so let's not tempt fate. We will. So, Worth, Matravers, been nice knowing you. Well, we're on the coast path now. We've just dropped down from the village of Worth, Matravers, and we're on the coast path heading east. It's October the 1st, and Andy informs me that it's International Old People's Day. And to celebrate that, Andy's forgotten to bring his phone with him today, and I've forgotten my walking poles. So, we're living the dream, we're living the day. International Old People's Day, we've both forgotten something quite important. Never mind, they're a bloody encumbrance at times, the poles. The phone less so, because it impedes Andy's padlock photography ability. So I shall be deputising if required. Well, this is an early place of interest on our final walk on the Southwest Coast Path. This is Dancing Ledges. We're in between a place called Worth Matravers and Swanage. Quite remote countryside again. It's a coastline of solid Portland stone. Much of it's been quarried, this bit here has. But down below, these are the Dancing Ledges. And apparently somewhere in those ledges is a pool that's been cut. And the pool was cut by the headmaster of a boys' prep school back in the early 20th century, and one of the pupils at that prep school was a certain the writer of James Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I'm not sure which I prefer. I'm putting on the record too here. Today was the earliest ever start. I was awake at 5. I was able to cancel my alarm at 5:15, and I was out of the Airbnb by 6:30 and on the start line at 7:20. Remarkable. I feel good for it. I think getting walking done in the earliest part of the day somehow feel like you've done more when you get to day's end. That's my theory, walking fans, and I'm bloody sticking. Well, we're well on the way towards Dirlston, 2.5 miles to go, and has to be said, after what we've I'm going to say endured, I mean enjoyed, the last few days in terms of ups and downs, this is a descent and a bit of steppage on the far side that I think Andy and me can cope with. We both think it's manageable now, but we've had occasion to regret our blasé attitude at times. Afternoon and all of today so far, we're on Portland stone. That's the underlying geology, that's the rock. Just shortly inland, quite heavily quarried for this beautiful stone. It's not farmland here, so it's not grazed, so it's quite wild and gorsey. Radio relay towers always reminds me of a couple of songs on Springsteen's masterpiece, Nebraska. Radio relay towers, lead me to my baby. Radio's jammed up with talk show stations. Talk till I lose my patience. I just sounded as I was singing it as a rap there. Maybe that's my niche. Maybe that's my next project. The Ponytailed pensioner embraces rap. That'll be the day, walking fans, that'll be the day. So just walked past the lighthouse at Anvil Point, picked up some signal, so I was able to message Hills and let her know that Andy had forgotten his phone and all comms through me. And then we now know we've walked a nautical mile, because these things up here are nautical mile markers. So my original explanation of them as radio relay towers was wrong. My second explanation was a bit vague, sort of navigational things, but they're mile markers for shipping. There you go, walking fans, bit of navigational info for you there. So this is an understated spot, isn't it? So we're at Durlston Head, and there's this globe made of stone, which is now surrounded by all sorts of punters. Intrigued as to what this is all about. But there we go, it's the Earth, and we're on it. And I'm going to go and select a bench. I wanted to see a bit of humanity, and now I'm seeing it. I've changed my mind. Andy's studying the Earth intently, as are the fellow Durlston headers.
Trying to get in there first.
Andy was photobombing. Excellent work. Coffee time on walk 54, folks. It's a pivotal moment, pivotal. Well, this is quite a thing, walking fans. This is at Durlston Castle. So rather impressive, I suppose, completely solid orb carved into the earth from the Portland stone, so that I like very much. Slightly old-fashioned names on there. We've got Russia's, we've got Hungary's and all sorts, British Isles, North Atlantic, I like that. And right now, my best beloved is all the way down there, near the Cape of Good Hope. So that's quite a good idea. They've put a stone in specifically for graffiti. And people in their imaginative way have written their names on there, just in case they don't know who they are. Let prudence direct you, temperance chasten you, fortitude support you, and justice be the guide to all your actions. What about kindness? Treating others as you wish to be treated yourself. All are but part of one stupendous whole, yeah? Whose body nature is, and God the soul. So here it starts to irritate the heck out of me. Rubbish. More rubbish. God the creator and ruler of the universe. This is just appalling. The Earth is a planet and one of God's... Looks more like cod actually up there. So the Earth is a planet and one of God's glorious creations. Very Victorian, very us commanding nature. Tennyson, the world was once a fluid haze of light till towards the centre set starry tides and eddied into suns that wheeling cast the planets. Well, that's some fulsome prose, isn't it? Not sure if the astrophysicists would necessarily agree with it, but it's a theory. So there we go, Durlston Castle, the globe. Oh, I just had a marvellous example of the Andy two-step shuffle, which was engaged yesterday on a perilous descent from Rings Hill. Little do we know at that stage how much more ascending and descending we're going to do. But anyway, we've just done an overtaking manoeuvre on the path coming north out of Durlston Castle, and some slow-moving civilian traffic was just burnt off by the two-step shuffle. I've forgot my pole, so I've completely buggered up my chances of doing my slalom technique, but there you go. Andy's two-step shuffle, a new part of the coast path walking repertoire. Shame we only discovered it on the penultimate day's walk. We're walking out on Peveril Point, just on the south side of the I've seen it described as the low-key seaside resort of Swanage, which we're shortly be entering. We're less than a mile away from the centre of it, so we'll have done pretty much half of today's walk as we walk out the north side of Swanage. We're walking a headland, quite a narrow one, and it's one of those headlands that you walk all the way out to, then you walk all the way back again, and you wonder what that was all about. But we have to honour the coast path, and so we shall trek all the way down to Peveril Point, Swanage seafront. Not been here for a heck of a long time. I'm walking along some railway tracks, which are almost for sure to do with the stone quarries around here. I'm getting a stone to the boats would have shipped it out to all parts, and quite a lot of it went to, obviously, to London. As is always the case whenever you see balconies, you so seldom see anybody sat out on them. It's always puzzled me, that. I don't quite understand why. But they're handsome places and lovely curved glass in them too, so I like that very much. So I'm often forced to wonder about what goes through the minds of my fellow citizens. I've just passed a bloke with a very nice t-shirt on with a big orange front to it, which from a distance I thought it said "Just Stop Oil." And the Just Stop Oil thing's all about climate change and changing our ways for once and all. And this is a chap walking along with a shirt that says, quite unbelievably, "Just use oil." And he looked old enough to be a grandfather, and you'd really think people would know a bit better and be sensitive to the need for us to cut back on the use of oil and gas and carbons in general. But oh no, not him. Fuck the planet, fuck the climate, and fuck everybody else. I want to use it. I do despair when I see that. I just really despair, because it's a conscious decision to buy a t-shirt that says that. And also there's some muppet selling it. Unimpressed by that. I don't attach any blame to Swanage, which is a nice little place, but he's an idiot and needs re-educating. Well, perhaps needs educating in the first place. No minibuses, caravanettes or other vehicles adapted for eating, sleeping or cocking. Swanage, I love you. Well, dead ahead, with that rather sort of odd mix of architectural styles, the white building with the portrait style windows and this stone built extension, I'm absolutely certain was the place that we stayed in on the Bristol Cathedral School A-level geology trip early spring 1975. And it was a small hotel then, it's now apartments. So I'm absolutely certain it was that place. Oh, what fun we had. And a major bollocking actually for skiving off the last morning when we should have gone mapping at Peveril Point, and instead we went pubbing in the Compass Inn and played darts, which is very bad. But I got away with it, Andy didn't. Andy's grade got downgraded. I still got an A. Well, ahead, straight ahead, lies the very last climb we've got to do. That's Ballard Down, and we've got to climb up onto that. Once we get to the top and go over the high point and we come down the other side, in terms of the southwest coast path, that's our last major ascent and descent, and it makes your mind turn to a whole bunch of things. So my mind turns to a lot of things now with the prospect of the last ascent dead ahead of me for Andy and me. This sort of kind of feeling of we're at the end of this incredible adventure. 30 months has taken us. This is the 54th walk. We've done it in 49 3/4 walking days. It's quite a lot of our trips were a bit of stinger action here, walking fans. I think I've dodged them. I've been through 4 cars. Andy's stuck with one. Had 4 nights under canvas. Andy, not me. Several week-long trips, about 4. 2 fortnight-long trips. And several short ones, 3 or 4 nights like this one. And even 2 day trips, one to the Isle of Portland and one for the very first day, which was an act of madness from Minehead down to, well, Exmoor. 3 Prime Ministers. A record number of pairs of underpants on one trip. For a week, Andy had 24 to cover all possible eventualities. Backups to backups, that sort of thing. So it feels kind of monumental, which is a word Andy used in his parting thoughts just now, trying to summarise the whole experience up. In short, it's bloody marvellous, and I don't half feel glad I've done it, nearly, and I don't half feel that I've actually done something that is big, and I like that. Well, it turns out there are steps. I thought on Ballard Down there might not be, but there are steps taking us up onto this chalk downland. Andy has been my physical companion all the way through this incredible experience, but so too has Bruce Springsteen. Bruce has been my musical accompaniment and soundtrack to pretty much all of the Coast Path experience. My last 2 songs for the Weymouth to Lulworth Cove walk, and then the brutal walk we did yesterday from Lulworth Cove all the way through to wherever it was we got to, Worth Matravers. Last man standing for leg 52 and Dancing in the Dark for leg 53. The explanations and the inspiration for those 2 songs, Dancing in the Dark was the first Springsteen song from 1984 that really got me. I kind of missed out on the early years for all sorts of reasons, but I became a big fan in 84, born in USA. Saw him that year, or saw him 85 actually, at Wembley Stadium. And this year, Emma and me have seen him twice, both in Dublin. And both these songs were performed live in what I'm certain will be the greatest concerts that Emma and I have ever seen together and will ever see together. It's impossible to imagine them being topped. They were that good. So Bruce Springsteen, Last Man Standing, a song about seize the moment, live in the here and now. And that's what this is all about in part. And Dancing in the Dark picked for the very obvious reason, for me, on a day of brutal beauty, a song that first brought me closely into the orbit of the Springsteen universe, and I've never left it, I never will. So Dancing in the Dark for leg 53, Last Man Standing for leg 52. So, on this, the last day, my song for the day, from 1971, and it's released on 2 classic albums of that year, and it was written performed, sung by Carole King on her marvellous album Tapestry, which has been an ever-present on my shelves for a long time. And she didn't write it for him, this song, but he loved it so much he was recording an album at the same time, and they were good friends and contemporaries. James Taylor. And many people know the James Taylor version at least as well, if not better, than the Carole King version. And the song I've chosen for this last day of the walk, the last of 54 walks we've done on the coast path, and actually the 100th walk that Andy and I have ever done together, so we kind of stage managed it so it would be like that. On this 100th walk, my song for the day is You Got a Friend. Got a lot of folk up here on Ballard Down. We're heading to Ballard Point now, and the end of the southwest, I said. Well, in fact, it is the end of the southwest, the beginning of what people would regard as the south, southern Britain. So the coast path ends on the south side of Poole Harbour. You cross it into Bournemouth, and you can continue on the English coast path now, which has become a thing. So joining up lots of the coast paths to form one monumental undertaking, which some folk have done apparently, which is to walk the whole darn lot, which is a massive undertaking. Well, I'm satisfied with doing the southwest coast path, and I'm certain in the knowledge that Andy and I are part of an elite group of people who've done that. So whatever way you do it, to do it requires a commitment and a perseverance, and it proves to yourself that you've got that. And the fact that it's a hugely enjoyable thing to do as well is the reason for doing it, I guess. But it's a big cheese, and I've enjoyed every mouthful of it. So I feel well chuffed of this achievement, and whatever I do in the future, and whatever Andy and I do together in the future, this will always be an experience that I can sit in that armchair one day and look back on and think, I did it. I can think, we did it. And I love that. Well, that, walking fans, is the first view that Andy and me have of the end. That peninsula sticking out in the murk with the big water area behind, that's Poole Harbour, one of the largest natural inland harbours in the world. Natural harbour. And that peninsula sticking out, that's Studland, and at the end of it is South Haven Point. And that's the finish of the mighty southwest coast path. Well, this really feels like it now. We're at the last headland. Dramatic cliffs, as dramatic as you like. Stunning coastal features, the various chalk stacks, including the well-known Old Harry and his wife. And we had an enjoyable few moments there before the final walk, literally all downhill to the beach and along Studland Bay to the end of the mighty southwest coast path at South Haven Point. I had a lot on my mind. I was thinking very much about my best beloved, who is 6,000 miles away tending for her mum and dad. I look forward to return in the not too far distant future. I expected to see my older boy Ben down at the far end of the beach. I knew he was in place, he'd been messaging, but alas, Jamie wasn't feeling too well today and was unable to make the little welcome party that I'd hoped to see right at the end of this marathon of walking. Never mind, it made no real difference because we celebrated in style over the next few weeks. So Andy and I dropped down off the low cliff onto the beach at Red End Point. We faced, I guess, just less than 3 miles of walking to get to the end. What a sobering thought. So I really savoured the last set of beach huts I was to see. We tramped along the beach, both thoughtful, keeping an eye out for my older boy Ben, who was due to meet us at some point, and he duly did, having been slightly chastened with his use of his drone, because as he pulled his drone out, he noticed some old fella lying down in the dunes, totally starkers, with a wizened old wanger hanging out, and he hadn't realised he'd inadvertently strolled right through the middle of Britain's first naturist beach. So we got to pretty much the end of the beach in good time, and in fact too early for Andy's very large welcoming party who were driving down from Bristol that very moment. So we went into a holding pattern for a short bit of time and savoured the moment and took a few photographs and thought about what we'd achieved. And really, like a lot of folk who get interviewed at the end of something, if somebody asked you right now, how do you feel? Neither of us, I think, would have been able to express it very cogently. Indeed, very little videoing and photography took place at this time, and that's why a few weeks later we decided to do a bit of a reenactment. But we'll come to that shortly. It was really a memorable, marvellous, massive moment. Andy and I had completed the mighty South-West Coast Path. Wow! What an achievement for the two of us. We felt so proud. So that was it, the last leg done from Worth Matravers through to Southaven Point. We enjoyed Swanage very much, and the last bit of up and down over Ballard Down, that was brilliant. Great welcoming party for us, we loved that. A very emotional moment, it has to be said, in all sorts of different ways. So emotional that a few photographs that were taken of us were all taken from the wrong side of the marker. So that's one of the reasons why we went back and reenacted our final leg. In short order, I was whisked away in the Mercedes van that Ben had converted. It's got a log burner inside, of course. And we spent the evening together in lovely Weymouth. I had a pint, had a fish supper, but best of all, I toasted the achievement with my favourite food, oysters. Marvellous. What a way to end a memorable day in my life, and in Andy's life too. Well, we did the promised reenactment in November on a Sunday, and Em and I drove down and crossed on the chain ferry, and we did the last part of the last leg all over again and met Andy at the end. And it was very much a punctuation mark, because Andy and I are continuing with our walking and we're moving on to Pembrokeshire next. And one of the things we did on this final walk was to make a couple of short videos which summarised our experience that we'd had walking together over the last 30 months or so. I've made a separate programme about those, so that's the epilogue part 1, and I very much hope, if you watched some of my videos, that you'll watch my thoughts and Andy's thoughts that we recorded during our last day's walk. I'm going to make a part 2 epilogue as well, which perhaps takes a more reflective view of the whole experience of doing something like walking the mighty Southwest Coast Path, and I very much hope you might want to watch that also. I did in the end want some kind of personal, somewhat private memento to this incredible experience, and I made up my mind quite early on that I'd get myself a tattoo. I've never had one, and in retirement I've embraced the idea of having a go at most things, and if you don't like it, just simply don't do it again. By background, I'm a geographer and a geologist, and one of my favourite parts of the Coast Path experience, one of my favourite places, is down on the coast between Mousehole and Penzance, a small fishing port called Newlyn. And this is the home of the Tidal Observatory, the place at which sea level is measured, and which all heights in Britain are referred back to. So it really had to be, it just had to be, a benchmark for my tattoo. A permanent memento to one of those amazing experiences of my life. Over and out for now, walking fans, and all the very best to you.